Philip Habib to the Philippines. Reagan directed Habib to consult with political leaders, church officials, and others in the Philippines toward national reconciliation. Reagan earlier met with American observers led by Senator Richard Lugar. Lugar later told a news conference at the White House that he will not certify his findings until all votes have been counted. ABC's Kenneth Walker has the details of that news conference.
Leaders of the U.S. team sent to observe the Philippine election told President Reagan today, despite instances of fraud and voting violence, they would not certify the returns were tainted. Senator Richard Lugar explains.
In a systematic sense, I believe that the counting situation was controlled by the election officials. Whether President Marcos or anybody else directed that, still they were in charge. That is the government, and it has great power. It also still has the power, it seems to me, to allow a fair count.
The U.S. team, Lugar said, wanted to withhold judgment on the elections until all the returns are in, so as to deny Marcos supporters a pretext for invalidating the election.
We're not going to make any comments that President Marcos or anybody else could use to say that we're calling it all a bad scene.
While the observers are prepared to adopt the administration's understating of Philippine election fraud, Lugar and Congressman Jack Murtha both emphasized the reaction in Congress will depend on the final returns. Kenneth Walker, ABC News, the White House.
U.S. Ambassador Stephen Bosworth paid a surprise visit to the Aquino headquarters today. However, it was not known whether Bosworth's visit was connected to Cory Aquino's reaction to statements made yesterday by U.S. President Reagan. Mrs. Aquino earlier expressed alarm that Reagan might think that election fraud was perpetrated by both parties. In a news conference today, she urged Reagan to make further inquiries to his embassy here, to his own observers, to press people, and even to heed the statements of Cardinal Sin, which declare this election dirty due to the efforts of the ruling party. UNIDO spokesman Teddy Locsin read Mrs. Aquino's statement.
All these estimates are conservative. Nobody should believe the complacent talk of this being typical of a Filipino election. Never has there been such fraud and intimidation, because never has an opposition been headed for such a landslide or faced such a ruthless and desperate incumbent. This is why the outcome is, by Mr. Marcos's own terms, a cliffhanger now. We may well find that our real vote was in the order of 80 to 90%. Mr. Marcos was reduced to his machine vote despite all his efforts. It would also be a delusion of policy to believe that an opposition whose leaders and followers have been and are being killed can suddenly settle down to a Western-style opposition role in a healthy two-party system. Too many will be dead the moment the world's head is turned.
More news in just a moment.